Hi guys, my name is Zach Envia and welcome back to another Custom Blocks video. So last episode I got a comment that helped me realize that I had made an oversight. So Thomas Fussy says, I would like that my block can only be recoverable when we mine it with a diamond pickaxe. Is it possible? And the answer is yes. And I've come up with 3 different methods of how you can use custom tools or custom items to recover your block. So this is, by the way, a episode 2 of my custom block series, so I'll be not focusing so much on the stuff that we talked about in the last episode with the custom blocks, because this is very much building off of that. So if you want to watch that, I will link it in the description and also iCards in the top right corner probably as well. Anyway, so in this video I'm going to show you how these 3 blocks work in the game, and then we're going to take a look at each one of them individually in the data pack and look at how they work, and then we're going to discuss what each of these 3 methods would be best for and which one or ones can solve Thomas's problem. So if I go into spectator mode, you can see that each of these have their own base block. So this is using, of course, the block 1 that we looked at in the last video. And so this block uses the base of obsidian, because obsidian only drops when you mine it with a diamond or netherite pickaxe. So we are using that fact to allow block 1 to work, and so that will work for any such block that drops differently based on different tiers of tools. So any of the ores are quite similar to that as well, you know, depending on what kind of tool you want to mine it. For this axe block, the data pack specifically looks for either a diamond or netherite axe, and it will drop the item only when the player is holding that. And then with this one, it is completely an unbreakable block unless you are holding the correct item. So right now it's bedrock, and if I go back into creative and hold this allium, you will see that it is now not bedrock anymore, and it is now a mushroom stem, just because I thought that was a easy enough block to break with your fist. So anyway, let's see how these blocks actually perform. So this command block just gives me haste. You can see that there. Gives me haste 15. I'll go into survival real quickly. And if I press the button. So if I mine this with an iron pickaxe, it should not give me the item, because obsidian does not normally drop its item when mined with an iron pickaxe. As you can see, the item did not drop. Let's check on our haste. Alright, I'll just press the button again, and now we'll mine it with the diamond pickaxe, and you can see it dropped. If I mine it with a netherite pickaxe, it'll drop again. So you can see that that works quite nicely, and we have our pickaxe blocks here. Now we'll move on to the axe block. We'll wait till the haste runs out, because that might make things a bit fast. If I mine it with an iron axe, it does not drop its item. Maybe you saw the oak log for a split second, but it did not end up dropping anything. If I mine this block, it will drop the item correctly, and if I mine it with the netherite axe, it will also drop. Now this block is the last, but certainly not least. Even if I put on haste, I can't mine it. It's bedrock. I can't mine it with any of these unless I have an allium. Wait, I have haste, so it's going to break it pretty instantly. And there we have it. We have our different blocks. Now we're going to go into the data pack and look more specifically at how each of these individual blocks works. So here we have our data pack. We'll go inside and we'll see what has changed. Oh, firstly, this has changed in pack.mc meta. We now, because of 1.16.2, the pack format is now 6. That's something that's changed since last time. Minor little detail, but I thought I'd mention it. just in case. So we go into our custom block and into our functions. I'll get to this in a second, and you'll see how it looks a bit different. So we have all our folders for our new blocks, which I have named accordingly. I also have this new IDs text, and it just gives you a bit of an idea of what you're looking at when you're going through the data pack, just as a little guide to make sure you know what's going on in terms of the custom model data for each block, which is that value on the left, and then the tag / the internal name is all those, and then the display name lastly is on the right. So that's a little guide for whoever wants to come and unpack my data pack. And so we'll head into main.make function. So this is all from last time, and that hasn't changed. But now we're going down to the pickaxe block, the axe block, and the specific block. So first we'll go through the pickaxe block. So like I said, they're based off of block 1 very closely. So this is very much similar, except this uses obsidian instead of cobblestone, which was used there. Apart from that, it is virtually the same command. Next we'll go into the place function. Again, very, very similar, making sure things like the tag have changed and the custom model data of the item frame. Then we have it placing obsidian. So that's pretty much the same. Now we go into the destroy function, and this is where things change. In the regular block 1 there were 3 functions, and we have replaced 2 of those with just one singular one. And you can kind of use this for any block, and this is probably more handy, more useful. So we execute positioned half a block below the armor stand, so that's actually inside the proper block, and it basically changes the item that's dropped. So it's looking for the obsidian item, and it changes it into the custom block. So your item frame with the tag, with the correct tag, the correct custom model data, and the correct name. And that's all the same. And then the give function, again, it's just changing the IDs, the model data, and the name. And that's how you do the pickaxe block, or something similar. Now let's move on to the axe block. So in break 2 we have our 3 functions, so let me just open them up real quickly. So here's our axe block. So, firstly, in the main function, again, very similar, except we're using oak log. This block can be whatever you like, it doesn't really matter. Again, making sure you're changing all the tags and whatnot for your IDs. Again, that's not the right one. Again, the place function I think is very similar. It's just changing these tags, and of course the block. I lost the word there. And you can change the sound if you like. You don't have to. Again, it's in the destroy function where we have the main bulk of the stuff. So this is for the summoning in the item. And so as well as checking that the player is in survival mode, it also checks this thing. It's called a predicate. I really don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So that's back in this folder again, and we're going to check out this little file here. So basically this file just checks if the player is either holding a diamond axe or a netherite axe. So we've got this so this top condition basically makes this an OR. So it's like check for this condition or this condition. And so it checks for a certain property for this entity, and it'll check the equipment. The main hand item matches the diamond axe, and very similarly with the netherite axe. So you can do this with any item or any tools you want. If you want more than this, you can just add on to this list. So you put like a comma there, and then basically copy this whole, or including the brackets, you copy the whole thing and then paste it below. But I'm not gonna worry about that. So yeah, that's basically what this is calling on. Just checking that it has the correct items. Now, if you want it to only check for one item, I'll go through that in the unique block, because there's a different way of doing one. I mean, you can use the predicates to check for one item, but you really only need it for 2 or more. So I'll show you that if you would prefer not to use predicates. For example, if you're trying to do this in 1.14 for whatever reason, predicates don't exist. So we summon the item frame, blah blah blah, just change the tags and the name and all that. And yeah, the rest is basically the same, making sure this destroys the log and not cobblestone, which is what we had in the block 1, which I copied this from. And then of course kill the armor stand, and then the give, again very similar, make sure the custom model data is correct and all that. Alright, now we'll go on to the unique block. So the unique block's a bit more complicated because we have to change the block based on whether the player is holding the correct item. So we have the first 2 commands are normal, then the command for destroying, so normally it only has 1 unless argument, but this one actually has 2 because it can be 2 possible blocks. So it can either be the mushroom stem or the bedrock. So executes at the armor stand, and it checks if the nearest player is holding the allium. So this is where you could use a predicate, or you could change the axe block's predicate for something like this. So selected item, and then you check for whatever item you want, and then it basically sets the block to a mushroom stem if they're holding that. But if they're not, so unless is basically if not. So if it's not holding the allium, then it will turn the block to bedrock and it will make it unbreakable. So that's basically how you do that. I'll go through the other functions as well. So I decided to have bedrock as the starting block because you're not going to be holding an allium when you place it. You're going to be holding the specific block. But that will change over when the player does hold an allium, so it doesn't really matter which one you start with. I think this is all the same. Doesn't really matter. You know. And same with this. Very, very similar stuff. Now the question remains, you know, when is the best place to use each of these things? So this first method I'd probably use if you can find a block that you're almost basing this off of, and it's very similar in terms of the types of tools that actually drop the item when you destroy it. So, you know, if anything matches, then I would certainly use this block. Also, if the block's properties match what you want. So if obsidian is a bit too hard and like it takes too long to mine, then maybe this isn't quite the method. And that's where this might come in. So this can deal with very specific items, destroying and creating the drop for the block. So this is a pretty good thing for all-rounder if you want the block to be able to be destroyed with relative ease, but it needs a more specific tool or tools to mine it. Then this would probably be the best. And if you want your block to be completely unbreakable until you have the correct item, then this would probably be the best. So in the case of Thomas Fossey, who only wanted his block to drop when a diamond pickaxe mined it, I would either use method 1 or method 2, depending on whether or not you want it to be like as hard as obsidian, because if it's too hard, then I'd probably go for block 2. Also, if you don't want netherite pickaxes to be able to mine it and you specifically want diamond pickaxes, then I'd also go method 2. But who knows, maybe method 3 suits your fancy more. Anyways guys, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. As with last time, the download links to both the data pack and the resource pack are in the description. Please give me as much feedback as possible. If you like the video, please do leave a like. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If there are things you didn't like about the video as well, please leave that in the comments, and even feel free to give a dislike. But anyways guys, that's going to be it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.